The Bring a Trailer podcast.
I had pledged Beck to do a 1-year garage or a movie pod every month, and I have really dropped the ball on that.
That is a missed goal right there.
I know it is. I feel bad about it too. And, to be fair to everyone, we did have... Who screwed it up? Was it you? You screwed it up. We had one. Yeah, we had one.
It's rare for me to do that, but yes I screwed it up.
Good self-defense there.
Yeah.
Well done.
We were going to do a model year garage, but that's being pushed off. It's summer, man. It's summer. People's schedules are nuts.
And BAT is as busy as it's been in a long time.
It's unfortunate this is sort of taking a back seat. It's always on our mind, I will say. We talk about it almost every day when we're recording next, but it is definitely the front seat activity is getting auctions on the site.
That's right. We all have day jobs.
We all have day jobs here.
Hey, welcome back to the BAT podcast, everyone. Alex and Beck here in San Francisco. Hot here in San Francisco. You asked if I'd done any car events, and my brain is so mushy. I can't remember. We've talked about the Hillsborough Concours a lot, so we don't need to do that again. But
did you go to Wisconsin?
I did not. So that happened, and I got to get somebody on here. Our producer, Chris Baxter, was there, and everyone had a great time. I'm trying to think of any of our regular... Katie was there for sure. Howard will be back by the time this goes live, so I'll get a download from him on the pod about that.
And I think he did rather well.
He did. He had another dice with Peter Cunningham, who's been on the pod before, I'm pretty sure. I don't think I hosted him, but maybe in the old days when Howard and Randy were the hosts, I think he was on, and certainly a seller and somebody that we love. They had a great dice last year, and I think had the same again this year.
And Randy was there, but he did not drive?
Correct. Present didn't race. They're both headed back here. Probably will be back by the time this pod is up. And they're doing prehistorics and historics, both of them. So that'll be exciting.
I've actually never done prehistorics at Monterey. Is it just more race groups? Is it just less fanfare? Is it just more diehards? What is it actually?
Let me speak out of my rear end on this and tell you what I understand it to be. I've never gone either, but in the old days when it was kind of tough to get your car, or there was a little bit of a personality contest to get your car into the historics, it was an opportunity for a broader selection of people and maybe some cars that weren't deemed quite eligible to drive. It's much less fanfare. It's a lot less crowded, and I think it's shorter too. I think Randy said it's just 2 days.
And it's the weekend before.
So
Monterey Historics is usually middle of August. So prehistorics would be the weekend before, which makes a lot of sense. You're already going to be making this big giant trip.
Right.
Might as well get 2 for the price of 1.5. And that was a line in the movie Contact. Remember Contact?
I freaking love Contact. That's a Carl Sagan book, I think.
Is it really?
I'm pretty sure. But you're talking about the Jodie Foster vehicle, correct? Yeah,
yes.
Okay. Matthew McConaughey?
Yes. Young McConaughey.
Yeah.
Great movie where they build 2 of the spaceships, one of them secretly.
Why have one when you can have 2 for twice the price?
Exactly.
I think about that line all the time.
Yes. Yeah. So I was thinking about that for the point of you're going racing, you might as well race twice. It'll just cost twice as much. But at least logistically, you're traveling once, right? Which for a lot of people at that echelon, that's really the big time suck.
I would imagine that for people, yes, who are making the effort, because Monterey is such a big event, you'll ship your car from pretty far to be part of the historic, so you might as well, do all of it. Also, again, I think it has historically been a place for people who have a cool period race car but can't get it into the historics, or maybe even a car that doesn't necessarily have period history, right? But is a vintage race car, but maybe a modern build.
All the O2s and the 510s and the GTVs that never raced actually.
Although that seems like it's a little squishier than it used to be too.
Really?
I think so. It used to be that you had to have real provenance for your car.
It sounds like it's still, as far as historic racing in the US is concerned, it's still actually the hardest one to get into.
At Road America last year, a lot of the cars they're all vintage cars, but a lot of them are modern builds, right?
Yeah.
And kind of cheater spec. It's as Randy pointed out, it's a GT350, but it's got flares and 4-wheel disc brakes. And it's not like his car where that's basically a period GT350.
Have you ever camped at Monterey?
Not in the campgrounds, but I'm almost... So the only time I ever attempted to participate in a race there in my old RX-7, our car broke. But I believe that was the era when my partner and I slept at our trailer. So I think I've slept in the paddock there, in the bed of the pickup truck or in our enclosed trailer. Maybe. It's so long ago, I can't remember. But never the campgrounds. They're supposed to be pretty cool.
It's great. I've done it once. It's, as much as I've been to Monterey many times with BAT, and they've, in essence, all been phenomenal experiences. But probably the best one I've ever had.
I want to know about your hesitation there.
Yeah. There's moments of struggle. The last one we did, I think we worked from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. It was a rough, long day in the heat. But I went in 2012, camped in the O2 with my buddy Ian. We parked in the dirt lot, and it's a little rough lot.
Which one? Because there's a bunch. Was it the one near the main entrance, like up above, in between turn 5 and 6?
No, it was up near the hairpin, way up on the hill.
Oh,
Like hairpin turn
2,
9, 10.
Oh, that one.
Not hairpin, yeah, not turn 2A, 2B.
Turn 11 hairpin.
Turn 11, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, turn, but where it cuts back.
Mm-hmm.
Up there on the top of that hill, it was a much more sort of Euro group. It was my first experience seeing an Overlander Sprinter van.
Oh, wow.
Like, this is early, like before the trend, I think. And it was so kitted out. It was amazing. It looked incredible. And we just had my little camping tent, and we didn't have any internet connection. We just loaded a bunch of Top Gear episodes on our laptop, and we watched that and drank. And then
I can tell you've been having calls with UK sellers because you said kitted out.
Kitted out, yes. Oh, I've been using stock all the time.
I've been talking about keen on things. That's a James Turnerism. I'm keen on things. I'm not keen on things. Sorry to interrupt your flow.
And
speaking of Top Gear,
7 a.m. woke up to the sounds of the pre-war race cars warming up, which is just a
sick,
wonderful experience.
Yeah.
Like, I'd never had that before. I had never made it to 7 a.m. before. You don't get there that early.
You've never done like racing before, right? Or like
I've never driven this track.
Because that is an amazing thing. When you wake, everyone's tuning their car in the morning. Like,
sure.
Like I race little amateur sports cars, but I spent a lot of time with my buddy and his family who are drag racers when I was a teenager. And you smell the nitro in the morning at 7 a.m. when everyone starts firing up their motors and stuff. It's an amazing thing, like in the morning time before there's spectators or anything, to be around that.
We were hoping to do like an office trip to the Top Fuel Dragsters this past weekend. We were
completely spaced on that, man. I'm sorry.
No worries.
And I'm realizing
did you hear what
now.
they did?
No, huh?
They sold out Sonoma.
No kidding.
They completely sold out the entire grandstands.
Wow.
And I don't know if that's like normal, but it was like a headline on a few blogs that I saw. That seems incredible to me. I mean, for the sport itself, that's pretty remarkable. I don't know where they make their revenue these days. I'm sure the racetrack likes it, but I mean, the sport itself probably is mostly, like a lot of motorsport now, is a TV based or an internet.
I have no idea if NHRA is on the up or the downswing. If I had to guess, I would have thought on the downswing.
I would
right?
guess those too, but they're selling out Sonoma.
I mean, it is in the era of people craving eventized things, right? Like, I'm trying to think of an example. Project Hail Mary, like everyone wanted to go out and see it. Or the Odyssey is happening right now, right? Like, people don't go see movies like we did when we were kids, but they'll go to the Barbenheimer phenomenon, right? They'll go to the event deal, or there were I didn't see them, but Obsession and the Backrooms, these like, internet phenomenons. I wonder if drag racing is that kind of thing. I mean, we see this in the car world. That's, Lufka Cult and things like that, eventized, Radwood. I wonder if drag racing could be that, because I do think it's we talked about this and trying to get our colleagues out. Most of them who've never seen Top Fuel Dragsters, it is just about the most impressive thing you can see.
I really want to do it because I feel like it actually would possibly solve my biggest frustration of watching motorsport live, which is it can be rather boring.
Yes.
Right. Motorsport is, I've determined it's quite similar to doing like musical theater. It's a lot more fun for the people who are doing it than the people who are watching it.
100%.
And
I hope my wife doesn't hear you say that. I'll never speak to you again.
I did musical theater all throughout high school and college. So like, I get it, but like, it's a lot more fun sometimes to do than it is to watch. And for motorsport, like, I get it. Like, it's visceral. Like, I've only done karting and some autocross. Would I like pay to go watch someone else do those things? I don't know about that. But with drag racing, it's so instant, right? It's so binary. One beat the other. It's quick. You can take a break. You can go it's sort of like baseball. Like, there's like downtime.
Yep.
As opposed to circuit racing, which would feel a lot more like soccer. It's not exactly necessarily thrilling, but you also can't look away because like the deciding factor could happen at any moment.
Totally. I may have said this on last week's pod, but I can't remember. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it to you so that you can be horrified. And so our listeners can either be horrified for the first time or horrified again. I was feeling a little blue a couple of weeks ago, and I just was like, I'm just burned out. And I was on a weekend. I was like, I'm just going to sit and watch some Formula One because one of our streaming services has Formula One. I was like, put on Monaco. It had happened a couple of weeks ago. It was, I don't know. Well, that's the famous one, right? And it was so boring.
Yeah.
It was on Apple. And so then I turned on Formula One, the movie, which is cheesy and which I want to do for our podcast. And it was so much more entertaining. And I was having this same internal struggle. I'm like, why do I find this knowingly unrealistic movie more entertaining than watching the actual thing? And it's because it is hard to capture motorsports on TV, I think.
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest challenges is that in motorsports, the humanity of it is tough to follow, right? They have masks. You can barely see their eyes. And they're trying to put cameras in right into their faces. I think Formula One does a pretty decent job of, I mean, the Netflix documentary just sort of solved that problem, was like, let's put them in front of cameras and interview them and get you to get a sense of who they are and care about them, so that when you watch the race and you don't see their face, you don't see their expression, you can be a part of this. They used to broadcast with Formula One the audio calls between the teams and FIA, like race control. And then they had that whole spat where Lewis and Max Verstappen, they red flagged the race. They only let a few cars go ahead of them. It was the deciding race, I believe, in Abu Dhabi at the very end of the season. And there's a great audio call of Toto Wolff just screaming at race control about how it was unfair. It was like the best clip that has ever come out.
Right.
And the next day, or like the next week, they said, we will no longer be broadcasting.
Right, because no one wants that to be heard.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
This is the best thing that we've seen this entire time. And so being able to bring in the humanity of it more, I have this bit larger theory that the only two safe jobs in the world are artists and athletes from artificial intelligence. It'll happen in the next 100 years. And with athletes, like, you've got to be able to show that humanity side of it. And in motorsport, it's really tough.
Well, it doesn't look like they're doing anything hard, I think. I mean, that's true. I think almost anybody doing I'm not really a big fan of normal sports, as you know, professional sports, but like, how often are fans, particularly middle-aged men like us, watching basketball or football and thinking like, I could do that, or I'm not that far off being able to do that, or I was able to do that when I was in high school. But I think in motorsports, it's like, unless you really have spent time on a track, I think most people are like, well, they're just driving a car. It doesn't look that hard. Like, people don't understand how hard it is. And it doesn't look that fast either.
It doesn't look like fast. That's a really tough one to replicate in it. They've done better in some ways. Have you seen the drones that they can like fly at 150 miles
You're
an hour?
saying Monaco's really boring because of no passing. What was your critique there? It didn't look that fast in Monaco.
The cars are too large. The track is too narrow. The cars have modernized. The track is not. What they really need to do is...
But they look even slower on these like super speedway things where the corners are so big.
Huge. Well, that's where I think that the real thing to watch at Monaco is qualifying. It's essentially a time trial. Then you get to watch these guys just really ring it out in a way that is genuinely dangerous. And that's what's exciting.
Yeah, with the barriers right there and everything.
Right, for sure. Once you put them into bumper-to-bumper traffic and they can't pass each other, there's less of an incentive. You actually get more conservative than you really should be. And it's not the good one. I would say, I think my favorite tracks for Formula One to watch are going to be the city street tracks, the ones where they can accommodate, so the larger ones. So I think Australia is great. Singapore is great usually.
Is that the one at night that's always under lights?
Yes.
Is that Singapore?
Okay. At night, but Singapore is at night. Singapore is also just like an incredible operation. They like shut it down just a few days before and set up the whole thing. And then a few days later, it's like...
Is this what they're trying to recreate with Vegas? Vegas is a similar deal, right?
Vegas, similarly to Singapore, is something like a percentage, like 15 to 20% is permanent and the rest is converted. So like Vegas, the big famous thing was they made the big paddock with its own...
I've driven past it.
Right. So
but you can see part of it's on the strip. You can see some of the infrastructure there.
And then the rest they have to sort of build up for it. But I think just Singapore as a government works so efficiently. Obviously they have their own problems, but like they've worked so efficiently, they're able to convert that so quickly. And it's very important for their branding internationally.
I find some of that objectionable in Formula One. Some of the countries that are and some of it is really unpleasant, right? It's a FIFA-esque fiasco of like human rights violations and like, you know, clearly if you pay Formula One enough, they'll do almost anything you want. That's why I have so much admiration for folks like Lewis Hamilton who kind of do their best. It's hard to, you know, take a knee during the national anthem or the equivalent, but I appreciate people who do that.
And I wonder, like, will there be another Lewis Hamilton someday?
I hope so.
I hope so too. But I mean, he came not for money. He didn't have the funding, right? He wasn't a rich child.
That's the other problem. Formula is such a rich guy where you can still buy your way in if you're rich enough, right?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, there aren't paid drivers in like the Pastor Maldonado style where like they're literally writing checks to the team and they're getting to like then sit in the spot. They're bringing in money in other
the Canadian
ways.
Billionaire guy, right? His son is
Stroll, yes. Right. I mean, those are dads running the checks. But then again, like,
I mean, that guy's good though.
He's good enough, right? He's not necessarily last place every time. He's in the teens sometimes. And
would LeBron's son be on the Lakers without LeBron being there, right? So I guess it can happen in other sports.
And LeBron might come to the Warriors.
Really? Is that a real thing?
Yeah, he's up for free agency, and the Warriors are trying to.
He's my age, dude. I can't imagine. I can barely walk up a set of stairs.
Dude, if I sit for too long, my knees like become atrophied. You're mentioning of like how many people of our age think that they could like walk on to any sport.
So I didn't fully formulate my thought there. One of my favorite things in life as somebody who's not really very good at anything is watching a master do something.
Sure.
a dancer, a singer, whomever. And one of the qualities that regardless of their skill, they always make it look easy. Somebody who's at the top of their game makes it look easy. And I think that's why it's appealing for humans to watch it, because you're like, I could do that.
Sure, it's relatable.
Even if you intellectually understand you can't, it looks like you can, or you can kind of imagine it. And that's kind of the mark of a true artist. And so I'm not one of these sports obsessed, like almost every American male, middle-aged people, but I would imagine there is something, most American men played sports, right? So they see themselves in the athletes to some extent. We just went through the World Cup madness, and even I got sucked into watching a shootout during a bar, and I got excited even, and I don't care at all really about it. So I guess I'm wondering, like, what is it that attracts people to that stuff so much and makes motorsports a tougher sell?
I think it's the humanity and the personal struggle. And yes, if it's a sport that you were raised around, obviously you're going to have a connection to it as an adult. I think the true marker of middle age is when you finally realize that, like, oh, right, the Giants aren't going to call me out.
See?
Like, for a long time, I would watch the sport and be like, it might happen.
Yeah.
It
could happen.
It could happen.
There's did you ever watch the Always Sunny episode where they do the Eagles open tryouts? Yes, so they're all like, oh, we're going to make it for sure. There's an incredible documentary that I recommend anyone who's listening on Netflix called The Battered Bastards of Baseball. Have you watched that?
No.
It's about Kurt Russell, the actor who was an athlete, and his son, Wyatt, who's a star now, I think was also a professional hockey player. So good athletic genes in that family. His dad, who was like a Western actor, not an extra, but like, was a bit part player in hundreds of Westerns, was a baseball obsessive and bought an independent minor league team in Portland in the 70s. Kurt played on it, and they demolished the farm league, major league associated teams. And I think they ended up banning independent baseball from like AA and AAA. But it's an incredible Netflix documentary on them. And they held open tryouts, and dudes came from all over the country on Harleys and stuff to try out. And some of them made it.
Wow.
And it's kind of one of the last times that ever happened. And they were a real motley crew and drinking and long hair, and they were destroying their opponents and embarrassed Major League Baseball so much they basically shut it down after that. It's an amazing documentary. You should watch it. And their ball boy was Todd Field, the filmmaker. So he's this great talking head in the documentary. You should check it out. It's really, really good.
So the Ballers, which is an Oakland independent, not Pioneer League, I forget which league they're technically in, but they are independent, but they're part of the MLB system. So they have the same rules. They have Avions, challenges, all that. They play in Oakland in a small baseball park. They probably get a couple thousand people to the games, if that. Super fun. It totally removes all the annoying commercialization of, say, Major League
Non-paid
Baseball.
players at volunteer.
No, they're paid, but
Okay.
not much.
You have to have a job.
Yeah. And the schedule works out so that like travel is much easier and much more organized and all that. But I believe they were supposed to play the San Jose Giants.
Whoa.
And I think they actually did play them earlier this year. And I believe the San Jose Giants won, but
this is a farm league team for the
farm league teams.
Giants?
Yeah, they are the.
Is it AAA is highest or single A?
Triple A is highest.
Okay.
So it goes low A, high A, double A, triple A. And then below the A's, you might have what you would consider to be college summer league.
Yeah, okay.
But then again, those guys aren't in the system. They have not been drafted yet. But Oakland Ballers are fully independent. These are guys who essentially have decided to bow out.
But this would be like an exhibition game. This
doesn't mean anything otherwise. It's just for the
bragging rights.
Bragging rights. Yeah, totally. And Oakland Ballers, super awesome. They play maybe a dozen other teams. It's a pretty unbalanced area because the people who play for each team, those teams make a certain amount of revenue. They don't have salary caps. And so they're just sort of paying them whatever sort of the cost of living is for that area. Whereas in the minor league system, it's all very regulated, how much you can pay. It's all based off of your market size and all those
And
things.
Everyone has ambition to
Correct.
move up. And like that's what you're aiming for. And by the way, you have realistic hopes of that if once you're in the system.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, it's still a low percentage, right? Like you've got 4 teams feeding into one team.
Well, and my favorite sports movie of all time, it's Bull Durham. I love the idea of the permanent middle-aged minor league player who's just like kind of resigned to it, you know? Well, I've been to the show.
So with all of these alternative sports events, they're growing everywhere. I mean, some of it is women's professional sports coming into the space.
Yeah, which is doing very well. I went to an amazing Fall Curies game. Yep. Amazing.
They're big. Bay FC is the women's professional soccer team in the Bay Area, but like those are all growing. And then also just in general, there's now an official cricket team.
I heard that they're playing at Kezar, right?
And are they playing at Kezar? I
thought somebody told me that recently.
Their home field is Oakland Coliseum.
Oh, okay.
Because you need a really large oval, and the Oakland Coliseum is like the last, I think, multi-use complex that can actually accommodate that shape and size. And so they've got all these other additional options that aren't necessarily NBA, MLB, all these things that are super expensive to go to. You're getting all these other athlete opportunities for sports that I think you're going to get more and more people who are going to stick around and try to make it.
Yeah.
And then, like, what do you do when they're our age?
Well,
their bodies are destroyed.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, to bring it back to cars, I actually I don't mean to imply that I don't like pay to play. Like, I actually love the era. We've talked about Briggs Cunningham ad nauseum on this podcast. And that's in part because I love the idea of the old guy using his money to be like, yeah, I want to go race at Le Mans. And I'm going to hire like two super good drivers, but I'm also going to poke around in the back in my Corvette or my Cadillac or whatever. And like, you know, I'm writing the checks. I'm damn well going to be out there. I actually love that. I have a lot of respect for that. He was a real competitor. I think he raced in the America's Cup, right? Like, he's like a guy who really, you know, horse racing, like he really appreciated sportsmanship in the kind of old white guy mode. But I value that. And maybe that's because I'm turning into one of those older white guys and I want to be able to do that stuff too.
What team are you hopping on to, Alex? What team are you paying for a spot on?
I mean, great call. Probably vintage racing, like Howard and Reddy. Like, that's what I would do. Gentlemanly, nice and slow. I need something slower than the cars they have.
You don't want to be changing diff ratios while you're racing?
I want something where drum brakes are not a problem because the car is so slow. I guess I do, back to all these sports teams that are getting better, I do value and I'm somewhat alongside everyone else in the kind of eventized thing. I also find it harder and harder to get out of my house. I just finished reading Ready Player One, and I get why people get stuck on their computers. We work on our computers all day long. It's hard to get out of the house. You and I both have young kids. So I am somewhat in the same boat with everyone else where I'm like, I do need like a big event to get out to go do something. And so I care less about it being a sport or a sport team or a racing series that I care about, and more like, is this going to be an awesome experience? Like, that's the most important part.
And I think that's actually part of what we've been trying to think about with our alumni gatherings, with our meetups. What is it that's actually going to get people who have bought and sold on the site, and also people who are just generally curious, willing to get in their car and drive? Man, we've experienced people who've driven
cross country
to come to some of these things. And it has to be really freaking cool. And we were doing Monterey for a long year. I don't think we're blowing up any spot here by saying that we're not having an official.
No, but I will say something that I should shout out, because this will be coming out pretty close to Monterey. We're going to have Mohr Imports, our local partner there, Steve Kittrell and Adam Mohr, who we love and who've been on this pod before. In fact, I think we had an episode with them last year, recorded at their facility in Monterey. They're going to have some Bring a Trailer giveaways. They're going to have a little open house. We're going to have some Bring a Trailer tents and stuff up. And they will have, as they do every year, a collection live on the site during Car Week. And so I'm going to try to be there during their open house. Randy and Howard will both try to stop by because they're racing. So nothing official BAT, but we have a local partner in effect, and we're going to do all we can to support them and meet anyone who wants to meet us there.
Nice. Yeah. The local partners are so helpful.
Oh, yes.
With these things, because they just, we learned it kind of by accident when we started having local partners host some of our more simple meetups. It became a little bit more turnkey, a little bit more like, well, they already have the connections locally. Like, what are we doing trying to do that ourselves? We're finding success in, I mean, clearly the turnouts are insane.
Yeah, the other event that just happened, which I also don't think we've downloaded on, I wanted to have Tabitha on to talk about because she was up there, was our event with 911R at Portland International Raceway, the Rose Cup. And that, like, we had 300 spots and we were worried about whether we get enough people, and it like overflowed from our spot.
Well, what's nice about the industry that we're in is that we spend so much time looking at it online. People look so much time researching and buying the thing, and then you're desperate to use it. Like, let's go show it off. Let's go enjoy it. Let's go have our friends see it. Let's go have conversations with strangers about it. And if you're just sitting around with a car in your garage, you just can't do it.
Totally. But you're also totally right that the most important thing that we want to provide, because we want the same thing ourselves, is to like, what's rad? Where are you gonna have a good time? Like, that's the most important thing. And we're constantly trying to think of what that would be. So, sorry, you wanted to mention something about Monterey?
More about, it might be, I mean, how many years now have we had an event at the racetrack and then we're now not going to be there? I mean, last year we weren't either, but I think the fact that there isn't an announcement on the site is, I think, a big surprise for some people who sort of associated that as being like our thing. But I think what's instead, we're putting on efforts for a lot of other locations. We're going back to the UK in October. That'll be a big one. I think more international stuff is in our future in general. and hopefully going to new places.
I mean, there's a lot of places we need to go. We were talking today about Retromobile in New York, which is going to be a new kind of exciting experience for us in the Javits Center. That should be rad.
Do you think that will play well to an American audience?
I'll be totally honest. I'm excited about it, and I was a little worried about that. And I do think it's going to play. I think it's going to be cool.
You went to the one when it was in France.
I went to the OG. This is going to be the first one, right? I mean, this is the first one outside of, as far as I know, the first one that's outside of the famous Paris Retromobile.
And you saw that Goodwood is trying to replicate that now.
I did. Willow Springs, very interesting. We were talking about that the other day. That'll be very interesting to watch how that plays out.
I wonder how, because of the nature of the big American historic events and the type of clientele, they kind of have to grab everybody, the upper echelon and the cheaper community as well. And I wonder about Retromobile and Goodwood, which as a common American, I tend to associate as being very high end and sort of impenetrable without spending a lot of money. And so I wonder, are they going to maintain that branding wise? Are they going to go down market a little bit? Are they going to find cheaper ways to allow, young enthusiasts to get involved and come see it? Because up until now, I feel like I have enjoyed Goodwood. I feel like I'm almost even a part of it, but I'm almost a part of it because I've just watched the races for free on YouTube.
Totally. I don't know. It's so, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I know a lot of our colleagues have been speculating about it, and I'm sure listeners and other people have been too, at least anyone who's privy to the news. It's so different. Like the venue is so different. I'm fascinated to see what they do with it and how they try to figure it out.
I love the choice of Willow Springs. It's so historic. It still has the ability probably to cosplay relatively easily if they're going to play that.
Yeah, cowboy hats and cobras, totally.
Right. I imagine that they will try to do that from an American standpoint. It will be a little different because when you watch Goodwood, it's like all grass and green, and this will be dry and hot and dirt.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they could replicate Cobra races there, that'd be absolutely incredible.
Totally.
The other issue there is the housing situation, but I guess Singer is trying to satiate that a little bit with their purchase.
I mean, how many fancy people are going to want to get hotels in Lancaster, California? We'll find out. Yeah. I spent a lot of time there. Actually, we used to stay in Mojave when we would race at either the streets or the big track at Willow, which is even cheaper than Lancaster. It's kind of equidistant between those two places. But yeah, high desert of California, man. I love it. Edwards is right there.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Do you know the famous story? I don't think it's in the movie World's Fastest Indian, which is great. Nice. That needs to be on our list, by the way. Yes. It's really fun, really great Anthony Hopkins performance. As my dad always says, it's hard to imagine that guy was Hannibal Lecter because he's so charming in that as Burt Munro, the Kiwi who broke a bunch of records on his 1920 Indian at Bonneville. The real Burt Munro was obsessed with speed, and he would bring his motorcycle, I think, through the port of LA every year, and then he would truck it out to Bonneville. And, you drive right past Edwards Air Force Base and, it's so huge. He just wandered onto the base at one point and the security guards arrested him. And they said, what are you doing? He's like, I read about this SR-71 Blackbird. I'm on the fastest motorcycle. That's the fastest airplane. I want to go see it. And as I recall, he's so charming. They brought him in, they met the base commander and he gave him a tour of the base and all that stuff and showed him all the, super fast research airplanes that are out there. I mean, dude, when I went over to the UK last time, I was talking to one of the flight attendants and I remember as about a 4-year-old going to the UK on a 747 British Airways. And my dad told them that I loved airplanes. And they had me in the cockpit, sitting in the pilot seat over the North Atlantic. I remember looking out the window and, there's 500 people in this airplane. Right. And there's a 4-year-old sitting in the seat out over the North Atlantic. I
never got to sit in one of those cockpits during flight, but definitely I remember either a flight attendant or I don't think my dad would have gone to ask at all, but a flight attendant offering, would you like to come see the cockpit? And I got to go up there and they had the door open and I sort of stood there and they pointed to things and all. It was very cool.
In flight.
Yeah,
amazing. It's totally different time. Because they'll still do that after the flight, I think. Shout out to our buddy Mike Barron, who got invited into the cockpit, I think, of an Airbus recently because he was wearing a BAT hat and the pilot had bought a Corvette on BAT.
That's amazing.
Which is just about right.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so great. So great. What else should we chat about? Should we chat about the insano results we've been having recently? Howard texted this morning and said we had 7 premium cars sell. I also noticed we had 40.
50.
We had 50. Okay, we had
live
42 premium lives
Yes.
when I saw that. We had 50. That's
We
amazing.
had 50 premium cars. It snuck up on me. I had no idea. I think the last time I'd seen it was maybe in the low 30s.
Yeah.
And so to have 50 premium, I was like, have they changed the rules? Like, what is this?
I mean,
No,
we just have
just
so much
that
volume
insane.
live. Yeah.
I mean, it's indicative of a lot of things. I can tell you that in white glove, average sales price for white glove listings is double what it was last year right now. So the upper echelon of the market is really coming to the space in a way that I haven't really seen since the peak of COVID. In COVID times, we were selling like $1 million car every other week through white glove, it felt like. That sort of disappeared for a long time. Now it's kind of come back a little bit, or there's just more of it.
I actually think that is the case.
That's probably the case. And yeah, I mean, there's a few key results that have grabbed a lot of attention. Low mile 2010s is just kind of extreme. There was an SLS a couple weeks ago that sold for a pretty extreme amount. It's gotten in a lot of
negative social media context. People think it's fake sale, which it is
Correct.
most assuredly not.
It is
not that people are listening to the seller or us when we try to assert that.
And I think very importantly, that seller, I was actually confused. I was like, oh no, did it fall apart? Did they relist the car? Because I saw there's now a 674 mile SLS by the same seller, but it's a different car.
Yeah.
It's another one.
By the way, extremely established seller who's been around for a long time. Hyman Limited, also a partner of ours.
Yeah. And it was the same color. So I'm sort of like shocked. Now, granted,
did you see the crazy white one with the red custom interior from another power seller of ours? It's not quite as low miles, 2,000 or 3,000 miles, but it's white and it's all red interior. And then the person optioned all the carbon fiber engine trim is red. I thought it was fake for sure, but this was factory optioned this way.
There was a Ferrari tailor-made that had like a burnt orange interior engine bay.
This is an SLS, but same kind of thing.
That's wild.
It's looking to head for another stratospheric result.
I don't know if people are sitting on these assets and they're just thinking now's the time to sell again, like we're just like in a 5-year rotation from COVID to now, or are we just taking more market percentage? Like these cars would have sold anyway, but they would have sold at traditional auction houses, or they would have sold privately, but now they want to go this route. You need a finance degree that I don't have to figure that out maybe, and a lot of time that I don't have. But it's very interesting to see. I mean, people coming back with SF90s even, like those people kind of hit away for a little bit because they were worried about those results being too low. But now, because of where the market is, they're coming back too.
I know so many people who are a lot more famous than us, Beck, who are on podcasts, love to speculate about this, and that's where their credibility comes from. Who knows what's in people's minds? I do think, in part because you and I are attracted to this era of car too, that a lot of it comes from, this is all boring commentary that a lot of people have offered, but people of our age coming into more money, having more disposable income, and wanting cars from their youth, and also realizing, and I think this is realized largely across all ages of car people younger than us and older than us, that call it 2000 through about 2015 or even a little bit earlier is kind of the end of the line for the type of car that a lot of car enthusiasts are attracted to.
A lot of current ones are, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you got to get on. If you haven't already, we were recommending the Great Wealth Transfer. Go ahead and get in line for that. That would be,
if you're still holding on to your 488 Pista.
If you are on the fence as to whether or not you're going to benefit from the Great Wealth Transfer, I recommend doing it. I agree. You're probably not wrong. These are people who are maybe just getting their inheritance and moving on. Or maybe they invested very well. I mean, there's obviously a huge boom times and portions of the stock market, although I would argue we've seen that that's not really indicative.
Totally. There's also people chasing trends, right? Like you have a bunch of people screaming that the SLS sale is fake, but then you have a bunch of other people who are like, I better go grab an SLS right now.
Right, for sure. It's a run on the market. It's what's caused a few banks to go under as well. Can I say there's a one car on the site that I would love to see more of? 624,000 mile 1997 Honda Accord LX
I love
sedan.
this. We actually do. These get much less fanfare, but we try to highlight high mileage too. We've had 4, 5, 600,000 miles. We try to throw that in the headline when we can.
This thing looks so good. This is about as reliable as any of the tanks that we've had probably come through.
Probably more
reliable, to be honest, actually. But man, 624,000 miles. I think about often the 55,000 mile Ford GT, second gen Ford GT that we had on the site.
Oh yeah, it didn't sell, and it
didn't sell.
Bid to like, I bet it would now. It sold to, that was when those cars were. Everyone was paying $1 million.
To 500 or something.
No, I think it bid to like 6 something.
Oh really?
But yeah, the guy drove it every day for like 2 years straight.
Amazing.
Yeah,
fantastic. I mean, yes, we talk about what belongs in the title. And it ultimately comes down to what makes it cool. Why is it here? Like if it's not just year, make, model, what else makes it cool? What differentiates it? And so obviously 624,000 mile car, doesn't really matter what it is, as long as it's not a rusting pile of junk.
Right.
And, it's not a Hammer where the head's been replaced and the handle's been replaced. Like it's still the original car. Fantastic. We want it. 55,000 miles, second gen Ford GT. Fantastic. We want it, right? On the other end of the spectrum, there's 624 mile SLS. Right. That's also, okay, got it. Yes, that's extremely rare and unique. The fact that someone didn't drive it.
I would love to pair it with a super high mileage one. I mean, there probably is, but that guy doesn't want to sell it. But there probably is a super high mileage one out there somewhere, because these cars are totally usable. Yeah, absolutely. We've been able to do that more and more as our site volume has increased, pairing interesting cars. 2 of the premium cars that sold today, there was a SLR McLaren in all black, low mileage, paired with an all black, low mileage SLS AMG. I guess it's not technically the successor, but it kind of is, right? Like those are the 2 back-to-back Mercedes supercars.
They probably filled the void,
right? At
least, right? There's really no. And I think even Mercedes would argue there's no generational connective tissue.
Yeah, the SLR McLaren, it's kind of a one-off deal, but the Gullwing SLS is definitely the follow-on to that car in terms of like the halo Mercedes.
Yeah. And it crushed it. I mean, that car, I think, has looked great since day one. It's not like it's aged poorly, like in any way, shape, or form. It's appreciated pretty much.
I wish Zach was here. We've been talking about SLSs for years. No, he loves them. And, there was a time when they were in the mid 100s, and that's obviously all gone. Maybe even in the low 100s for one with miles, but that's all gone.
I still think about when Jeremy Clarkson drove one, when they drove across America in supercars, and he chose an SLS, and they go through Vegas, and they go to one of the like weapons rental shops.
Or you get to shoot like an Uzi or whatever.
You shoot whatever machine guns you want. And so one of their challenges was which car is best for a drive-by. And so
it's definitely about the SLS.
So I forget what the other 2 cars are, but like Richard Hammond's in some like Lamborghini and rolls down the window and he's trying to like put the muzzle up and over the door sill and he could barely see. And he's like, the butt's not even in his shoulder. It's just like shooting backwards. And then there's Jeremy Clarkson, who just can like open his entire Gullwing door, AR-15, just as he's driving along. Just incredible.
Oh, great stuff. I love those cars. You've seen one in person? They have so much presence. They have like supercar presence. They're so wide and low. I like the car that came after it a lot. The AMG GT, right? Which is very pretty, but it looks much more like a standard sports car. The SLS, the proportions on it are crazy.
It's kind of the Model Y to the Model X argument, right? Let's get some reasonable doors on this thing. Let's cut the pricing dramatically. Let's sell a bunch more of them.
Yeah.
But, it is the 190.
I hate that analogy. I hate it because I dislike the Y and the X.
Let's do a Mercedes. It's a 190 SL from
There you go. There you go.
So what really made this car amazing? It looked awesome. Let's keep most of that and none of the rest.
Yeah, none of the stuff that's so expensive. Let's increase the margins on this.
Do you remember when like 190 SL supposedly got crazy popular? Like they went crazy in value, but it was purely because people thought it had some sort of generational connective tissue to the 300 SL, and it was like, obviously it doesn't.
I mean, it doesn't. They are very pretty, and they've gotten more valuable. There's just a lot of them.
And there's a lot of them. Look at that model page. It is such a deep range of results.
Oh, totally.
Because people will spend $250,000 restoring those things. In Germany, Arthur Bechtel just spend a ton of money on those things, and then they'll be like in such a hole.
Yep.
And they need a $300,000 reserve. And you're like, I don't know. This one is sold for 90. And I get it that it's not as clean, but that's a deep, deep range.
Yep. There's 2. I mean, I guess you could say this of a lot of these cars that have gone up in value. I was going to say there's too many of them. There's actually like a lot of Gullwings. They made 1,400 of them. Like it's not there. F40 is another car. There's more of them than you think. They made, I think, also 13 or 1,400, right? That's why it's always interesting to me when a car is very low production. Like a good example of this, I was just talking to Mike Barron, second shout out to Mike Barron on this pod, E28 M5 in the US, there's like only like 1,000 of those or something, right? Like that's like a rare car.
US market E28?
Yeah, you'd have to look it up, but it's in the like sub 2,000.
And they're all black.
Right.
Which is so unfortunate.
My 996 GT3 now gone. There was only 1,000 in the US. They only made like 4,000 of those total, whereas...
Well, they also weren't expecting that to be such a huge...
Totally. And those aren't way up in value, but a 992 GT3, which they'll crank out as many as they can make.
And Ford, they'll make a convertible now.
What?
Yes.
There's a GT3 convertible? Oh my gosh, it's antithetical to the whole thing.
Yeah. It's in the spirit of like this whole, how many cars can we basically put the GT3 motor into? I believe
Right, and they did have that. There was like a speedster deal that they didn't call it a GT3.
Correct.
Right.
So the 991 Speedster and the 992 Speedsters have GT3 underpinnings, whereas all the previous ones don't.
Right.
For like the 997, it's essentially a GTS. For the 964, it's a standard naturally aspirated car. And then for the 911 version, it's just a 3.2 Carrera, but I think it's got like turbo brakes and a few other things. Putting now, I think it is called like the GT3 SC, I want to say.
Whoa.
I know. Now
didn't
I
hear
feel
about that.
silly for not knowing the exact.
You and I have spent so much time on this pod talking about Porsches, and I still love Porsche, but I've lost a little bit of. There's too many cars. I can't keep track of all of them. And also, there's too many wings and canard. I just have lost.
Sure.
I've lost the. It's, they're chasing the dough, right? Like if people will buy them and wait in lines and wait for allocations, they'll build as many models. And you can't really blame them. But I've lost some interest as a result of that.
So GT3 SC, S/C, notably, not an SC.
Like the old rally car.
Not a Super Carrera, as they were supposed to be. This is Sport.
Or no, ST was the other one with the slash, right? What was the old car with the slash?
ST is a slash.
Yeah,
right.
okay, that's right.
Or a 934/5, a few other slashes out there.
Yeah.
But I understand this, I'm interpreting this as what the GT3 Touring was to the 911R. Which is we're making this low production, super iconic, high dollar for specific buyers. And oops, it did really well. Everyone wants it. Let's make a version that we can show for a lot more people.
Which, by the way, those are like my two favorite modern Porsches. Or those are the two that if I had the money that I would want, like a 911R or just a 992 Touring, no wing, 6-speed. I just had this debate with my buddies from Slow, with my Roddy and Tony and Stevie, shout out to them, about those crazy bucket seats that everyone wants in them. I sat in a set of those. I'm like, this is insane. Just give me the regular seat. But that's what I would want, the sleepiest GT3 you could get, basically.
I'm just nowhere near that level. Like, if your life is that exciting, it's why rich people like jump out of airplanes and do base jumping and microdose and such. It's because they're already living life at a certain age.
Hunt the polar bear.
The polar bear. I went years ago.
That's a thing. It probably isn't.
Years ago, I went to Ren Sport. I think it was 2018 Ren Sport. A family rented a house.
I was there.
I think you were there. Did you come to our house? We had a little house
That was
party.
the really rad one up in the woods.
Yes.
Like where you went. Yeah, that place was sick. Yeah.
That was a great place. And I had these 3 guys who I know, older than us.
Ian was there. Shout out to Ian. We never want to ignore having 4 or 5 Ian shout outs.
And these 3 other guys came who are all relatively wealthy. They all have Porsches. One of them, I believe, is ordered a singer. And they had brought sausages. And they were like, oh, we made these sausages. Oh, really? Like, yeah, we just came back from boar hunting. Like, oh.
From a helicopter? Machine guns?
Yeah.
Machine gun out your SLS door and out your Eurocopter door. Great stuff. Oh, man. We didn't even actually talk about that many results. There's so many premium cars. Let me pull up my watch list and see if I'm missing anything primo right now. Oh man, we have a Voisin live. It's our first Voisin. That's an amazing thing. Well, when Howard gets on, I'll ask him about racing and also about the Swig collection, some of which sold today, including a record price on a Celica, which was amazing to see.
And it's Grand Prix White SC.
Is SC. So I'll get the full Howard Swig breakdown on that. Sorry, you were going to say something.
Probably my favorite C3 that I've seen in a long time, Corvette C3 L88 in blue, a convertible.
Oh, man.
It is pretty striking.
Is that on your dad's list or is he C2 only?
No, he's C2 only.
Interesting. Yeah. Early C3s have a lot of the charm.
I get it that your base C3 engine package is pretty rough compared to even what the base C2 was, right? You're like 200 horsepower kind of thing. But if you're out of the smog zone, as far as age range is concerned, the looks are, I don't know.
Well, the early ones in like 68, they're plenty powerful. I think it's all the same motors from the late C2, right? You can get a 427 with a 6-pack on it, I think.
But you can get a 70, 71, even a 72. You don't want to get into the like enduro bumper kind of stuff.
Once you get the plastic bumpers, 75,
74 will be
that's when you start getting the 170 horsepower 350s and stuff
70,
like that.
73 is, I think there's 1 year bumper only for that. But yeah, what you want is chrome bumpers. You want like
late 60s or a very early 70s car.
It's like, is the 914 also ugly? Then that's also the bad year, right?
Yeah,
so it's like you either got to go early 914 or early C3. And that is, I think, a phenomenal, that is a great value proposition is early C3. The looks are still fantastic. I wonder what build quality feels like but I don't know, maybe it's
I've
comfortable.
asked people. You just have to, you just put up with it. That's part of it. But I think that's true with a lot of Corvettes, to be totally honest. So you just put up with that part. If you're a longtime 911 SC Targa driver, it might be frustrating to you. But you know what, dude? Sometimes you need to look cool. When you're a middle-aged white guy, you just need to look cool.
And like you could probably get how much for like a early C3 with chrome bumpers and just look awesome? Like you can't do that in a C2.
We've talked about
it's
it.
Impenetrable.
We've talked about it quite a few times, but like kind of a ratty Corvette driver with a manual is a sick. That's
the
a sick
rear
thing.
3/4 view.
I mean, this was the first.
C3?
This was the first Corvette I loved, right? Like, because it's the one that is the C3. It looks the most like a show car, right? Like it looks like a show car for the street. What was it? The Mako Shark, whatever the reason the Stingray, all the Stingray terminology. By the way, is it L88 the crazy motor? What's the one that's all the money? Yeah, right. Like those are, we've had some phenomenal results.
Amazing results.
Recently.
2 cars previously, I will admit, we had to withdraw. Turns out that car wasn't real. We withdrew it very publicly on the site to say like, oh, this is a mistake. Not going to move forward with this. Very important. And leave it up there.
Yep. Let
people vent and all that. And what was phenomenal is the next car that went live looked identical, but it was also the C3.
Is this the red one?
The red one?
Yeah.
But the lead image had all of the paperwork surrounding it. That
was a first time seller. You brought that guy in, right? That was like a new first time seller I think we brought him in somehow. Anyway, that was an amazing listing and an amazing result.
Phenomenal listing. And more importantly, I don't know if someone made that, subjective decision based off of the result of the previous auction having to be withdrawn to then be like, well, hold on, guys, we need to lean into the presentation. We need to lean into the authenticity of this car and use this image that they have, or they just already had it set up, because it was such a phenomenal response of just, hey, we get it on this car. Look at what we've got.
$860,000 on that car. That seller had listed one car before. It ended 3 days before. So he also sold a split window for $400,000 a couple days before.
Wow.
Amazing listing. Hopefully folks have noticed it, and I'm sure you have, Beck. We've been making an effort to make our listings less cookie cutter when there's a cool story or something to tell. A huge shout out to Carter and Ryan, the 2 guys who oversee our production and editing departments. And, when there's a story to tell, we want it to be front and center. That's always been our philosophy, but it's been hard. And it frankly is still hard on a lot of cars, especially even like, one of these $2 million 458 Speciale open car. If that car has 200 miles, here's the window sticker and the colors and the options. There's not much to say about it because it doesn't have a lot of history. But when it's a documented car, or it's one of these, iconic Corvettes or something, and you have a bunch of documentation, we want to put that right up top. Just today, I think I showed you this. There was a 64.5 Mustang Notch that was owned by a military man who was Steve McQueen's jiu-jitsu instructor, like most interesting man in the world. Not the spec that you would normally care about. It was a black Notch 289 4-speed, but not the highest spec 289. I think it's called a D-code 4-barrel, but not a hypo, with a white vinyl top and hubcaps, but a 4-speed, and had heavy duty suspension. You could tell an interesting guy had optioned it. And then it stayed with him all the way till last year, and the dealer bought it directly from his widow. And they had all these pictures of him with Steve McQueen and all this stuff. And that car sold for like $34,000 today. And I'm like, man, what? That's like all I care about is like, normally I'm a fastback guy, but that car, and you wouldn't want to touch a thing on it. It still has the California black plates on it and everything. Mm-hmm. That's why I bought that Elite. That's what I care about, are stories.
So license plates. My son loves numbers. I've taken him to car shows and I'll have him work on pointing out certain differences on cars. He's 8 years old. He understands the difference between a short wheelbase and a long wheelbase. 11.
Jesus, Beck, you're really indoctrinating him.
He can point them out, but he knows to look for the little hole.
The jacking point,
The jacking point. He can see, that's the torsion bar suspension.
Sorry, that's right. It's where the torsion bar goes in. That's right.
So he knows how to look for that. And then recently his big thing has been about license plates. And he knows that California is nearing the end of its run of its current alphanumeric terminologies for its license plates, where currently you'll see them occasionally as a 9Z license plate. Eventually it'll be 9ZZZ.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know about this. Your son knows more than me. What happens?
So they've already announced what they're going to do. They're going to reverse it. So it'll still be 7 digits, but it'll start with 1A000.
Oh.
So we'll have letters starting in the beginning of the plate.
Then 3 numbers, then 3 letters.
Correct. And we'll actually have far more variables because there's 26 letters in the alphabet. There's only 10
And so when you get 4 letters instead of 3 letters, you get more,
You get a ton more. And so he's been watching for that. And then one day he saw...
We will have destroyed the earth before that sequence runs out.
And then
Cars will, or at least in California, cars will be illegal by then. So.
Then one day he saw a blue plate.
Oh.
He's like, "What? Why is that one blue?" I'm like, I explained, "Oh my God. Well, there's this great time called the 70s and 80s. And there's these blue plates that came out. And I have
Which I used to hate. People used to, I thought they were so dorky.
Well, the problem is they clash with the car. It's very rare for a blue plate to blend in well with the car, unless it's like a blue.
They're aging awfully nicely.
They're aging more nicely. And then I said, well, in the decade before that, they were black plates. And the decade before that, they were gold plates. It was black plates. There's a black plate. And it was like a new
retro
SUV with a, they're not going to explain to them like, no, that's terrible.
No, we disown those.
These are awful.
Yeah, 6-digit black plate, baby.
Right. Well, and
then blue plates have the problem that where there's 6s and 7s.
There's 6s and 7s, and there's difference in 6s. There's 6s with narrow dies and 6s with wide dies. And the narrow dies is when they were preparing for 7 digits.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Randy and I have discussed. I think we've all discussed.
Of course. Well, my Gia had 237 car, and I still regret getting that up. But I don't think I've shown you the Elite has I have the old beat up front plate in the back still, so I have both. And I can't remember, but HRD are the letter parts of it, which is the same as the Vincent manufacturer, which I love.
I have the blue plates taken off my 74 2002 TII when I went to Kevin Malik, who bought the car off Bring a Trailer back in 2017, I want to say. And
you had front and back?
Front and back, but the front was rough.
Yeah, they get all sandblasted.
They get sandblasted. I think as they're parked in the city, they're just getting hit.
Oh, totally.
Just hit, because it was like chunks of metal were missing from this license plate. Like I just.
What's the sequence? Do you remember?
I don't remember the sequence. But the shipping company came to pick it up. I asked him, "Hey, you don't need these plates, right? You know what they're taking? Let's go on to Arizona, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, you can keep them." So
amazing.
Yeah.
I did have the foresight at least to take my license plate frame off the Carnegie, which was the place where it was sold new. I still had the original license plate frame on it, Eliopulos Motors, and I have that on the green Porsche downstairs now. Do
you have a collection of license plates at all?
No, I have some. My late father-in-law, God rest his soul, he bought a couple cars in Europe. He was an orthopedic surgeon. He bought a couple cars there. My wife would have to clarify exactly what it was, but during his residency, he went around Europe with my wife's mother. They were then a newly married couple, and he did orthopedic surgery rounds in UK, in Italy, in Austria, and a couple places. And he bought some cars there. He loved Volkswagens and Porsches. And so he saved all those oval German plates.
Oh, nice.
And he had them. And near the end of his life, I asked about them. They were sitting in his garage. He's like, "Oh, you can have them." And they're like pristine because they were only on the car for a couple months.
There weren't any problematic stamps on those oval
plates. This would have been... He was born in 1928. He lied about his age to fight at the very end of World War II when he was 16, but he went to Stanford in the 50s, went to House of Prime Rib when he graduated from Stanford Medical School in about 1955. But he's Jewish and he couldn't get internships at like the Mayo Clinic, turned him down because they wouldn't take Jewish surgeons in like 1955. Can you believe that? Isn't that crazy? He was never like upset about that stuff. He just took it in stride. And he was a complete atheist. But one quick anecdote. He went to Stanford for undergrad and for medical school. And the head of Stanford's medical school at the time had been a brigadier general in World War II. But like as a surgeon, he led like a medical corps. And he was part of D-Day, his medical corps.
Whoa.
And they had a whole landing craft filled with doctors and another one filled with supplies. And the supply one got sunk. And he was like, that's when we learned it's not smart to put all your supplies on one boat. And also we realized we had all the surgeons on one boat too. So if that had gotten sunk, so they had to ad-lib once they got to shore. But anyway, Larry, my father-in-law, said he was a tough bastard even in the late 50s. He was an old guy by then, but still had a crew cut, still active military, but he was running a Stanford Medical School. And when he found out about the anti-Semitism, he said, "Don't you worry, Larry, we're going to get you." And I think as I recall, he's the one who set him up with all these residencies in Europe, including he was at the hospital in about 1960 when Churchill broke his hip in south of France and they flew him back to the UK to have surgery because they're like, we're not going to let him die in the hands of some French sawbones. And so he was in there smoking and drinking when he was 85 years old, recovering from his surgery. Anyway, all that to say, I got his amazing German plates, and those are the only cool ones I have, unfortunately. Do you have California plates?
I have all California. I have a couple Michigan ones because I've bought a car from our family once, and it had Michigan plates on it.
What does a vintage Michigan plate look like?
This one was from 1976. It was from the 200-year anniversary. They made
a
limited edition 200-year-old license plate for America's birthday.
Just had
another one of those. So I have that. I've got a Florida plate that came off the 30 when I bought that car. I've probably got about a dozen.
Do you have a favorite plate? Yeah, state plate or country.
Oh, state plate. I mean, I think New York is pretty great with Lady Liberty in the middle.
Empire State.
Or Empire State.
Yeah.
Is in the middle. That's a pretty great one. I think more of them are actually pretty boring than
including our
interesting.
current plate,
Our
California's
current
ones.
plates. It's just kind of overused. Like it's so standard now. And obviously the sunset plate, it's kind of shocking to me that they haven't offered that
I know it's
as
so
a pay-to-play license plate because I feel like it would do gangbusters.
We had those on our Vanagon that we bought in Germany in 1985. My dad paid the extra for those, and he kept the Deutschland plates behind him because we picked that up at the factory. So I have this distinct memory of seeing those on our Vanagon, and you could see the oval sticking out from behind it.
The worst is the people who put the Euro license plate behind the American license plate on a car that was clearly like, it's an X3. They make those in Atlanta. Like, that's, what are you doing?
We're trying to be cool. All of this stuff is dorky stuff. My favorite is New Mexico. I've always loved it. The yellow, the beautiful, and there's so few cars in that state. It's still 6-digit there. And it has that beautiful Navajo, cross-looking thing in the middle, and they're yellow or turquoise.
I think Hawaii is great.
Oh, Hawaii's great with the rainbow.
The best part is seeing a Hawaiian license plate not in Hawaii.
Yes, totally.
How did this happen?
Totally, because that car was on a boat, which I love.
And they've chosen to not retitle.
Yes.
You're going back?
Yeah.
This car, are you commuting?
I also love it when you're in California and you see like a Georgia or something.
Yeah,
You're like, oh God, what a voyage that car has been on. No, I love all this. And I obviously I've mentioned it a million times. I love German plates because they're not square, which is so cool.
But we know what state gets the best cars. Montana.
Oh yeah,
my God,
right. There may or may not be Montana plates in this office.
What a coincidence!
Awesome, dude. Thanks for doing this as always. Any parting shots?
No.
Enjoy your summers, everybody.
Get outside.
Try to get some sleep. Go out and enjoy the warmth. Thanks as always for listening. Feedback, questions, concerns to podcast@bringatrailer.com. We will catch you next time.